How's it hanging, everybody? Welcome back to Tag Team, the Pokemon Trading Card Game's premier podcasting trio. My name is Riley Hulbert, joined as always by my good friends, Mr. JW Kriewall and Mr. Andrew Mahone. Folks, how are we doing today?
Hey, doing pretty well, Riley. Thanks for asking. Just celebrated my 6-year wedding anniversary with my beautiful wife, Anne, this last Saturday.
Yeah, man, throwback to when you made us all miss NAIC for your wedding.
That's right. That's right. How could you forget? Yeah, in fact.
How could we forget, dude?
In fact, yeah, I should actually remind you guys every year when it's our anniversary to rehash that. I don't know. I thought it was a good wedding. I thought the people had a good time. It was a bit drier.
It was a great wedding, just very dry.
It was a bit drier than some people would have liked, but it was also a morning wedding, so
I did like the food trucks. I thought that was fun.
The food was
and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yes.
And it was a gorgeous day too. I remember that. So I had a good time.
I tailgated it. So, I made
you wouldn't let anyone you wouldn't shut up about it. You made sure everybody knew.
Well, for sure. Yeah. I was not going to shut up about it, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had a good time today. It was a nice day.
Hey, appreciate it. Yep. Yeah, thankfully it doesn't seem like any more of our friends are getting married anytime soon. I guess except you, Riley, but...
What do you mean, thankfully? Weddings are fantastic.
No, weddings are good, but, again, at the risk of missing a Pokemon tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, come
on.
Oh,
no. I'm at the point in my life where weddings are the best.
No, see, the problem, Andrew, is so for me, the weddings were the best until like 3 years ago. So now there's logistical challenges with having a kid
with the kids
that make them much more difficult, right? Like the weddings right after Ann and I got married, up until we had Harper, we're like, yes, Supreme, I agree. Sure. Like, give me all the weddings. I'll go to any wedding. If it's in Antarctica, I'll go. If it's in the Saharan desert, I'll go. And now it's like...
We're not going to those places, bro. Get real.
And now it's like, I'm going, but it's almost twice as expensive because you got to get, the extra plane seat and you got to get the extra, like, bigger car.
Babysitter, dude. Just a babysitter.
For a weekend?
Yeah.
With somebody we don't know?
No, you're telling me that neither of your in-law, your parents don't rock like that, dude?
What are we going to do? Like, drive them out to, drive the kids out to
Michigan,
that's
the problem.
Drop them off?
That is a logistical problem. And that logistical problem has nothing to do with your kids and everything to do with the fact that you guys live nowhere near your family.
Listen, dude, if we could get jobs near our family in this economy, do you know how rare it is to have a job?
Yeah, and that is not your kid's fault.
Dude, JW just took a corporate class the other day about his job is getting replaced by AI.
That's right, man. Yeah, the vibe coding is going to replace me.
Can't talk about getting a computer programming job in this market right now.
I know. Riley gets it, man. God. Riley gets it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I still love weddings. I guess, I attended a wedding the other day, a month or two ago.
The other day.
And I have a child. It was great. Well, the wedding was in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
And we drove down to Baltimore and you know what, there were great logistical challenges because it was my family side of the wedding, and so like my parents wanted to go, right? And like I wanted to go.
Who'd you leave the kiddo with?
Natalie's mom drove with us down to Baltimore.
Oh
and
my
visited
gosh.
with us in Baltimore and allowed us all to go out and enjoy ourselves for the wedding. And
she's in love with that baby.
She stayed with the baby.
Wow.
It was awesome, actually. But you're right. That was a logistical challenge. You're right. But
yeah, because imagine if she didn't.
The players
go,
rose to
right?
the occasion. Yeah,
that's true. Imagine if she didn't go. That would be tough.
That someone's got to skip. Yeah,
exactly.
That sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing fine. I feel like I'm kind of like burning the candle at both ends, if you will. I definitely feel like I am stretched, thin, after these tournaments, man. These all day tournaments. You see the stream timer start to get up to like 12 hours, and you're like, bro, what? My back hurts from sitting all day. It just really it's a physical feat. But I was excited about how the Rose Poke event turned out. The guy from Rose Poke, paid me to come up to his shop and produce his event. And, usually I don't like to take things like that. I really don't. I'm not looking for extra work. Usually I'm not looking to try and, frankly, I'm not looking to try and support other stores. Like, it's just Full Grip and Dragon Shield for me. Like, that's all I want to do is focus all my energy into supporting those two sponsors. But this was a Saturday gig. Usually I don't work on the weekends. I mean, like, except for when I decide to like drop into the office to work on like a personal project or something like that, or, try and like get a little extra done on something that I'm doing during the week. But like, other than that, I choose to not work weekends because as a content creator who makes your own schedule, you could drive yourself nuts working 7 days a week if that's what you want to do, but you will surely burn yourself out. So I don't work weekends usually, but I decided, I'm still paying off some equipment that I invested in for like the new studio space, and Brian reached out to me from Rose Poke and like wanted to produce his event. And as far as like event producers and commentators in the Northeast Ohio area, I'm one of the only people that can get that job done, right? So like, so I talked to Jameson about it, who owns Full Grip, and he's like, "Yeah, bro, I don't care, but thank you for asking, but like, like you got bills to pay, get it done." And I told Brian, like, I can't advertise for your event, I can't promote it, like that's not what I'm doing. Like, you're hiring me for one day to like come in and produce it as a service to your players and as a service to the community to like watch the event. But like, I'm not like event promoter. That's what like Full Grip pays me to do, right?
Yeah.
So we did it. I mean, and it was cool. It was really cool. I got to like, watch some good games of Pokemon. I got to commentate with Jesse, which is not something that I'd ever done before, which was fun, and I think it was like Jesse's first time really commentating also. And it was fun kind of watching him start to hit his stride more as the day went on and kind of like and get better at it. And you know what? Gholdengo won the whole thing, so that was pretty cool to see as well. It was also, I felt like kind of like a cool test for me. Riley and I, we did do the Base Neo tournament in Wisconsin. So like not the Base Neo, Base Fossil, excuse me. We did the Base Fossil tournament. Yeah, we did the Base Fossil tournament in Wisconsin, which was like an on-location tournament with its own challenges we did in the fall. But what was cool about that is they already had their own top-down camera setup, and I kind of just had to like bring a computer and plug into it. So like I still had to bring quite a few stuff, like quite a bit of things. But like this was a setup where like they had nothing. They had a blank slate, and it's like I have to bring everything, an hour north and produce an event. And I felt like I did it successfully, and I was really proud of that and stoked that I was able to do it, that I had, I have a trailer that Jameson gifted me from Full Grip. I mean, just like, when Jameson upgraded his trailer at Full Grip, he just gave me the trailer because I'm the only one at the shop who has a hitch. So he's just like, instead of selling it, he could have sold it for $2,000 if he wanted to, but like he just gave it to me, which is cool. And so now I use it, for various projects, and just being able to kind of like pop all the equipment in the trailer and drive it up to Mentor, Ohio, and throw the event. Like it was dope. It felt good. Like it was cool. It was a huge undertaking. It was a ton of work. I think like all in all, like tear down, because I have to pack all my equipment in my studio. I have to unpack it all at the shop, set it all up, produce the whole event, tear it down again, bring it back, set it back up again. That whole process, probably about 25 hours of work. But even so, like, they paid me $1,500 to do it. Like, it's decent weekend's work. Like, that was good. So I'll take it. And But now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling stretched thin for sure. These events like really take it out of me. And then on top of that, like my boy isn't sleeping. You know, he's just like going through that separation anxiety, having a really hard time sleeping at night. So like Natalie and I are like not sleeping. It's tough. So, you know, but I'm in good spirits. Things are well.
Well, that's good.
I'm glad the spirits are good. Well, you know, those phases will pass eventually, right?
For
I
sure.
mean, you
For sure.
just got to cut them off at some point, though.
That's what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
This very minute.
Oh, okay.
So like,
okay.
so then, well, and then we didn't leading up to NAIC because we brought him to NAIC, right? So it's like,
right.
well,
So then you start, you try to get like a clean slate.
but
right?
so this is the clean slate, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, and we're like, well, how long can he really go without intervention? And so like last night we decided to find out, and the answer is 90 minutes.
90 minutes, yeah.
Straight. 90 minutes.
Yep.
And he still woke up at 6 a.m. I mean, which is like an hour earlier than we want, you know. But like, okay. So, yeah.
It's a process.
90 minutes in the middle of the night, just like,
Yep. Well, good thing you guys aren't light sleepers, or that'd be a problem.
No, yeah. No, there was no sleep happening during the episode. I'll call it.
So you weave in a little switch in there.
Not to mention, I mean, he's just
Play
like
some Mario Kart.
really got some pipes on him too, and like
I
when
know.
he gets
Yep,
mad, he'll stand up. He'll stand
Yep.
up and like rattle,
hear it.
like he'll stand up, hands on the crib, and like.
Dang.
It's like,
That's serious.
it is very serious, bro. You know, and you're like, it's behaviorism 101 though. You're like, I can't go in, or I'm just gonna like encourage it. So
Yeah,
like
positive
it's like,
reinforcement.
he's at the point now where he's old enough to understand. Like he's old enough
Yeah,
to understand.
if I do something and I get rewarded for it, then I'm gonna keep doing that.
Then it's a good thing.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's just behaviorism at this point. So like, but we're making the, you know, he's not just an infant, like a little baby infant anymore. Like he's starting to understand things. So like we're at the
like
point
a
now
brain
where it's
and
like,
stuff,
all right,
yeah.
yeah.
Solidarity, Andrew. I stand with you in solidarity.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, JW. I know you've experienced it twice over. So yeah.
Yeah. Some would say still going through it, but
Nah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Some
Riley.
would.
Riley, how you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm good. Our plan is to have our wedding venue locked down at the end of the week. So now we have our final tours on Thursday morning. Taking a half day at work. Yeah, half day at work to
go.
Well, you know, I'm a project manager by profession, basically.
Okay. All right.
Started doing less engineering and more project management the more I am in the industry. So, you know, I got the spreadsheet, I got target dates. You know, ever since we took our first tour, I've been saying, listen, we can have a top 3 at any given moment. So that means if we see a 4th place, something else has to go. And like that's just how we're rolling right now. It's good. It's good.
That's fire, dude. That's sick.
So we'll have a venue and a date by the end of the week. That's what we're shooting for.
Great.
That's hype, dude.
Because here's the thing. If we wait every week is just another date that's not available, right, at these places.
Yep.
100%. 100%. No, you're
So,
going about it the right way. It's just
I mean,
funny to hear.
and here's the other thing is when it comes to this kind of stuff, you can spend weeks and weeks and weeks searching for like the most perfect location ever, or what's actually the most perfect location is the place that you get married to your wife at. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right.
as long as it crosses
beautifully
that
said.
threshold of excellence, which
Yeah.
all the places we looked at do, like we're good.
Who
You know?
cares?
So it's just
Yeah.
a matter of finding.
Amen, brother.
It's just making a
So
decision
true.
and
Yep.
sticking to it. And
Yep.
when it comes like in the relationship, I'm definitely like the more decisive one about this kind of stuff. Anyway, this happened a lot with the New Zealand trip too, where like Jill was really good at finding like all the different possible things that we could do, and I'm like, okay, let's just do like these 5, you know.
Yep, I get that for sure.
And it's a good it's like a good dynamic, you know, because I'm not as good at the former stuff of like doing all the research.
Nice.
So it's good. Yeah, we'll have a venue in a few days, and
Sweet.
I'll be sure to let y'all know.
Sick, man.
Hope so. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're
Me
not,
too.
actually. It sounds like you're
Well,
not looking
okay,
forward
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to take the kids there. Yeah, actually, it's gonna be just a big headache.
Meanwhile, I am very much looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Like,
so
as
and if
stated,
honestly,
as
if you're gonna be
stated.
such a downer about it, like I don't want people there who don't want to be there.
No,
dude.
I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there. Outwardly.
Make it happen, bro. Just make it
Yeah,
happen.
I have.
See-
I already have. Yeah.
You gotta be like a project manager, like Riley,
Right.
like with the wedding. Like as soon as you get the date
Right.
reveals, start managing the project, bro. Start
That's
managing
right.
because there's solutions out there.
That's right. There are.
It's
there
true.
are. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Because this has the opportunity to be one of the most fun nights of your life. You just have
That
to
is
manage the
true.
project.
That is true. I mean, right. Yeah, I would
Like,
say,
you have to
Andrew,
manage
like
the project.
your wedding was pretty good. Your wedding was up there for sure. Matt Velasquez's wedding was up there.
For sure.
I know you were invited. I don't know, Riley there, but
I
I'm
didn't
trying
know
to think.
Matt, really.
Dankis had a pretty good wedding.
For sure.
So
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know,
They have
there's a good
opportunities to be
there's a
really
good
fun.
legacy, right? There's good precedent.
Because the
in the-
thing
in
is,
the
like,
extended
we're
friend group.
we're old, man. Like, I don't go to ragers anymore. Okay,
I know.
Like,
I know.
I don't go to the bar and tear it up. But weddings, that
Well,
that is my rager.
you know what they
That's
say,
it.
Andrew. At our age,
Oh.
you know, today it's weddings, tomorrow it's funerals.
Yep.
Open bars, dude. Like, let's go, man. Get a babysitter and turn up. That's
So true.
get a
true.
babysitter and turn up. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I think it sounds like you got it all figured out, Andrew. So JW, I'll wait to hear your solutioning. I'll tell you what, folks. There's lots going on in the world of Pokemon too. Am I right? Got the
100%.
Japan National Championships wrapping up. We have the new announcements for the 2026 season coming up, and there's also even some new cards that I don't think we'll have a chance to talk about this week, but lots of stuff going on. I'll tell you what, Pokemon dropping the announcements on a Monday is great for us, though. I get the instant recording to pair with the announcements, so I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to digest from the announcements that were made about the competitive circuit. That we have a few dates for regionals and all the ICs, and we have new CP allotments. There's some minor changes. And maybe Andrew, you would say major changes. There's some minor changes to the tournament round structure. I mean, there's a lot of things that they altered or tweaked heading into the 2025-2026 season.
Yeah,
That's for
but
sure.
before we talk about that, let's take a sneak peek, JW, at our
Let's do
our
it.
Worlds format with the Japan National Championships. So this is interesting because they do have access to the Black Bolt and White Flare cards that will comprise our World Championship format and gets us a little bit of a first preview of what players might be eyeing up. Winning the whole tournament, though, what other than Raging Bolt EX? Andrew, I know you're excited about that one.
Important to note that players are able in these tournaments to change decks from day 1 to day 2. So our winner, Kabu Fukase, played Grimmsnarl in day 1, went undefeated, and then played Raging Bolt in day 2, also went undefeated. So a pretty
like he's
insane
just goated.
run. Yeah, he's just goated with the sauce for sure. But that is, important to note that this wasn't their deck for the entirety of the tournament. But yeah, if you look here, I mean, Raging Bolt, couple of top 4 placements. Raging Bolt, a couple more in top 16, and then rounding out top 32. So like very solid finishes from the Raging Bolt deck.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to Worlds, like, and I'm not, but if I was this year, say no more, bro. I'm locking in. I'm just gonna play the best dang Raging Bolt deck I could possibly play between now and Worlds. I'm gonna iron out every single matchup. I'm gonna learn every single route and I'm gonna listen. I did pretty well at NAIC knowing the deck 0, like absolutely 0. So like, I figure if I just enhance my powers like between now and Worlds, like it's fine. That's what else do you need to show me? The deck's cracked. I know it's cracked. I got to witness it firsthand, and this is just more proof of that. Now, obviously, The big thing to note is that this first place list is not playing Noctowl. And you know what? Screw those birds, dude. I'm about it. Those things were just getting stuck left and right all weekend. So, like, you know, and it's not like there's anything crazy here, because I remember when I heard that this list was I heard that this list didn't play the birds. I was like, oh, you probably play like 3 Crispin. Yup. You probably play like some Gears. Yup. You probably play like 2 Squawkabilly. Yup. Okay. Yeah, this is exactly same energy count, bro. Same stadium count. Like, it's all looking good. You got 4 Earthen Vessel now. You just got more of the good cards. There's like 2 Mew EX in here and 4 Ultra Balls. Mm-hmm. Sign me up, man. We're just grinding through this deck and just drawing into the cards the old-fashioned way. Like, I rock with that for sure. The lines are the same. You just got like less BS that you're going through with your bird sequencing.
I think one of the main differences between this build versus the Noctowl build would be that with this like very aggressive and very like Pokemon draw heavy engine, you can afford to go second. Whereas with the Noctowl build, you were pretty much always choosing first and like hoping and praying, like if there was a matchup that you did want to go second, it was kind of a long shot to get a donk. But with this one, this build of the deck, I think you're just choosing to go second every time, because a turn 1 Crispin is such an enabler on a Raging Bolt that you can more easily get those donks.
4 Vessel, you could do 210 turn 1. I mean, like 4 Vessel and Teal Masks with like Crispin.
Why stop at 210?
I could see 4. I could
do 280.
Yeah, I know.
Sheesh.
I could see 4 Crispin.
You could get
in a list like this.
You get 3 Teal Mask? Dang.
I know. In a list like this, I could see even 4 Crispin. I mean, the thing is that Crispin has such diminishing returns towards the end of the game, but still, its early game potential is just so good in this deck.
Yeah.
3, I think, is probably the correct count with the 2 gears. Like, I like that. 4 Earthen Vessel feels so good. There's just a lot of things just feel really good about this list as I was like looking through it. 3 Raging Bolt EX, because you don't have like the selectivity of Noctowl to go get the Night Stretcher right when you need it. So, just super consistent, super smooth. Like, be the best Raging Bolt player in the room, like for sure, and good things will happen. So, I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, after my run at the tournament, I was kind of thinking that Noctowl was not serving me that well. But I fell into a little bit of the trap, right? Of like, everybody's playing it this way, so this must be the right way to play it, you know? And like, this is nice little confirmation bias that the other options at least exist.
Yeah,
for
certainly. Yeah, I mean, you go down to the 4th place list, more classical Raging Bolt, if you will, right? With the Noctowls, but certainly goes to show that there's still more innovation to be had. Speaking of innovation, we have some new cards to hit some of these archetypes. By and large, if you go in and look at the Grimmsnarl list, those are pretty much set in stone. I feel like that is an archetype that does not lend itself to much innovation. Like 55.
There was the Tatsugiri. It's
sure.
not a new card, but it's a new inclusion.
Sure.
Isaiah Williams was playing that.
That is true. That is true. He was playing the 4.
I know, because I played
against
him.
The 2 Maractus. Yep.
And the Tatsugiri.
Yeah.
I like the Tatsugiri.
Yeah, but by and large, those are, I think, like most of the Grimmsnarl lists are pretty much where they're going to be at. But Gardevoir, I wanted to bring this up. So Gardevoir in the new format, here comes Jellicent, right? So this is a card that we had talked about in prior weeks, and the Jellicent EX is item lock on an ability. So with 270 HP and an item locking ability, it's just like Badoo turned to 11. So as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards or attach any tool cards, and then has a reasonable attack, right? 80 plus. If this Pokemon has at least 2 more energy attached to it than is required for the attack, it does 80 more damage. So you can reach up to 160, and then of course you have the Monkey Dories spreading the damage that you would accrue by attaching energy from Gardevoir. So what do we think about the new and, I don't know, dare I say improved? I think so. Like, Jellicent does seem like a pretty good inclusion for this deck, but what are we thinking about the new Gardevoir with Jellicent EX? Where are we at?
Andrew seems stun locked, but I think I don't know. The Jellicent seems fine. I do think there's some cool stuff you can do with it, right? Especially if you can get 2 out, you can do some really cool like retreat Monkey Dory type shenanigans. That 3 retreat cost actually coming in handy with Monkey Dories as well.
Yep.
I also think like the Clefairy allowing it to swing for one shots into Raging Bolt and Dragapult is really nice. So you get the one shot plus item lock. That seems pretty devastating
Plus
for a Raging Bolt deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot. That's a lot of like power play in one attack. You know.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty good. There were Gardevoir lists that at least don't seem to have the Jellicent yet, but that's also because their list wasn't reported. So maybe those all do have Jellicent. I'm trying to like reconcile, and I haven't looked through these lists in enough detail. Like, what is the opportunity cost? Right, this is a 4-card inclusion. That's pretty substantial. Like, what is being cut out of these lists?
You're going a little lighter on some of the supporters, right? So you potentially could play like a 4/4/4 research Iono Arvin. You're getting rid of any Drifloon combos, right? So there's no tools here, right? Outside of the
there are
devolution,
two Devos,
the devolution
dude.
and evolution. No, but I'm saying
though.
none of the bravery
charms,
right?
stuff.
So you would, classically in Gardevoir, right? See at least like 2,
one,
right? That's
least,
pretty.
yeah.
At least 1, 2 is pretty standard. 3 if you're really trying to lean into the Drifloon. But yeah, that's all cut out here as well.
Yeah, the 2 Devos. I mean, I'm sitting here kind of like, okay, why, right? And then the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, rare candy with Jellicent. I mean, you nix rare candy if you Devo, right? And then there's no more rare. You can't.
Well,
play rare
I
candy
gotta
with Jellicent
think
active,
that this
so.
is maybe not auto winning, but like this is a huge play against Grimmsnarl, which has to be Gardevoir's. One of the tougher matchups, right, for Gardevoir. So if they are able to get a quick Grimmsnarl and then they have the Morgrim on the bench, you're right, Andrew, that play that you're talking about, getting a Jellicent in the active and then devoing, removing the rare candied Pokemon plus the stage 1. I mean, that just puts them in a horrible spot. So I got to think that that's, a big motivator here behind the 2 devolution.
Yeah, I mean, devolution with item lock combined is like pretty nasty. The Grimmsnarl decks tend to just play counter catchers also, and like counter catcher also turned off while Jellicent is in the active spot, so not even a lot of opportunities to kind of push around the Jellicent. I like it. I feel like it gives the Gardevoir deck kind of like a fresh new way to go about the game, in that you've got this really thick item locker that does enough damage. It's really all you need to do is enough damage. I mean, you think about a Pokemon like Screamtail. I mean, like, what? Bradner's list was playing 1 Charm and 1 Screamtail, right? So, like, I mean, Screamtail on average is doing 160 damage. You just make up for that with the monkeys, right? Like, the Gardevoir on average is doing 190 damage. It's only 30 more than what Jellicent's doing. And Gardevoir EX is like the premier attacker in the Gardevoir deck now.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it not? Doing 190 damage. And the thing that you do with the Gardevoir EX is like, you're not really disrupting. You're just attacking with the Pokemon that has 310 hit points and being like, you probably aren't knocking this out. Or I hope you're not. Right? And that's like kind of the thing. Whereas like Jellicent's got 270 with the no items. I mean, like 270 with no items is like far more difficult to knock out than 310 with items. So, that 40 hit points is mitigated by the fact that items can't be played. And I think it's neat. I don't think it'll be the only way to play Gardevoir. I do think that Gardevoir's kind of shown its flexibility, and you could go all the way in with like Drifloon and stuff, or you could go very little or no Drifloon, or you could lean into Screamtail, or you could lean into Gardevoir, or you could lean into Jellicent. It's like now it's just there's so many good purple cards. Like just play whichever ones you like.
I know, man, and we don't even get to talk about it on this podcast. They came out with a new stadium to help psychic decks.
Yes, Pokemon is obsessed with the purple cards, man. It's
yes,
crazy.
They are.
Yeah, pretty wild. So Anything left to say about these Japan Championships, guys? Any
I mean,
other
honestly,
thoughts?
it's a lot of familiar faces, right? It's a lot of familiar faces. If you looked at NAIC meta and you looked at this, you probably wouldn't be terribly surprised by the decks that are showing up.
Yep, I did want to bring up
literally.
I did want to bring up Gholdengo with the inclusion of the air balloon. So that's, I mean, it's not a huge buff, but it is somewhat of a new spin on Gholdengo. Being able to play like a 4/4 Gholdengo as your only draw, by and large, outside of course, Pheasantipity. But then having a little bit more draw potential by being able to air balloon a Gholdengo, retreat it, get the additional +2 with the fresh Gholdengo in the active. I like that a lot. It obviously makes a lot of sense in this kind of deck. So just wanted to bring that up as a a new addition and something to look out for. Will this survive in an item heavy or an item locking heavy meta with things like Jellicent and Badoo? Hard to say, but it did get 10th here in this latest.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you, JW, and say that this is actually a huge boost for Gholdengo.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of the game, it's probably like a plus.
Not just the air,
+4,
not just the air
+5,
balloon,
right?
not just the air balloon, but also the Genesect. Like, I mean, these are huge.
Yeah,
buffs,
Genesect is pretty
for
good.
the archetype.
Yeah, let's talk about that
Huge
too.
buffs for the archetype, right? Because
Yeah.
Genesect just allows you to go get two metal evolution Pokemon from your deck, put them into your hand. I mean, like, just no cost, a no cost ability. Just one string your turn, go get 2 metal evolution Pokemon. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you don't have to rely on TM Evo. You could choose to go first if you want. You can just,
Sure.
just throw Gimme Ghouls out on the bench, get a Genesect, boom, there's your 2 Dangos. If you happen to have an air balloon in hand, that means instead of draw 3, you're drawing 4. And your mobility is just better than it used to be, like, because you can justify playing air balloon. Like, before, if you started like Monkey Dory, that just sucked, man. Like, you had to like you did, and like and
Yeah, you had to hope you started
with
an energy. Yep.
Yeah, man. So, like, I would say the air balloon actually is just like a huge logistical help to the deck, and I would say makes it a lot stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I love the look of this list. Like, it looks really clean. I don't know about the Scizor line particularly, but I guess, Genesect certainly helps that in some regard. But the supporter lineup is kind of funky, but then you remember, like, they were probably really factoring in Jellicent and Gardevoir, and just having more ways to push Pokemon around is never going to be a bad thing. And, you think about the Raging Bolt matchup too, like having ways to get around the non-EX Raging Bolt, also very good. So just an interesting list.
4 boss and 2 counter catchers is crazy.
yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of like the 2 boss, 2 counter catchers. So seeing 4 in a list like this is pretty wild. I guess you're kind of making up for the draw, like, a little bit. Again, if you like think about the aggregate over the course of a game, like the air balloon probably is adding 4, 5, 6 cards to your hand over the course of a game. So maybe playing alternative supporters other than like Cypher Maniacs or Arven makes a lot more sense now that we have air balloon. So it's just an interesting way to look at the deck, and I certainly would be excited to try a little bit more Gholdengo in the next format.
Yeah, Gholdengo's super buffed for sure with the Genesect and the air balloon. I'm just looking at the Black Bolt set. It's like, why did they even print this Genesect? Because it has like no synergy with the set itself. So it was just tailor made for Dango, I feel.
Yep, probably true. So. Cool. Well, should we transition now to some of the new announcements for the upcoming season?
Oh,
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, there was a ton of changes that were announced for the 2025-2026 Championship Series. This obviously extends to all games in the in Pokemon's control, right? So the TCG, Unite, VGC, Go. But we're going to be speaking about these through the lens of the TCG. A lot of things announced. You can see here on the screen. If you want to go read for yourselves, this is at championships.pokemon.com. And they have a whole article here, which is unique. I don't remember this certainly for like most of the years. I don't think they did it last year either, but this is a nice change, very welcome change from the company, where they not only give us some of the changes for the next season like very early, but they're also explaining some of the reasoning behind the changes. So whether or not we agree with the reasoning is another thing, but it is just a nice precedent that I hope continues into the future, that they just let us peek behind the curtain a little bit on what they're thinking. So let's talk a little bit about some of the topics. We'll go down here from the top. The league challenges and league cups start in July, so that grind begins in like a week. For those of you keeping track. Don't need to say too much more about that, but adjusting Swiss tournament rounds. I'll read a portion of this because this was a pretty hot topic for this season, where they decreased the number of tournament rounds and then added an ASIM cut. Well, they're kind of splitting the difference in a way. So they say, after analyzing data from the 2025 season and taking feedback into consideration, we will be updating the Swiss format. All age divisions, if they have at least 65 participants, will have one additional round of Swiss pairing. So that means that you'll have 9 rounds in day 1, and then we had 4 rounds in day 2. It means we'll have 5 rounds in day 2, and then there is a instead of an ASIM of everyone that reaches top 8 points. So the 8th place finisher and all that match that 8th place finisher's point threshold, it's actually going to be capped at 16 total participants. So this is a reintroduction of a bubble, right? You could have be 17th and have the same number of points as the 8th place finisher and be cut out from having a chance to win the tournament. But that is how they're choosing to go about it, at least at the beginning of the season. Do you guys have any thoughts on the Swiss tournament round adjustments? Because obviously there's a lot more to talk about in terms of the tournament, but just talking about Swiss rounds.
I think this is great.
Do you like it?
I think this is great. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it felt like they cut the 2 rounds almost anticipating there to be 2 rounds of ASIM.
And then
but even NAIC could not get up to 17. They had a potential for 16, I believe. But not 17. And also like 17 plus, that's just too much at a certain point. Like, I think it's reasonable to draw the line at 16. Realistically, most tournaments only have a couple. And I'll tell you what, like, playing 4 rounds in day 2 felt bad.
Horrible.
Like, I'm waking up to barely play any Pokemon, and each game has like an completely outsized impact on my tournament run.
Yeah.
So I like the addition of the extra round. I think it'll just overall lead to better tournament experiences. And I think keeping ASIM, I think, is good. I would be shocked if the 16 participants thing ever came up, especially with the addition of an extra round where it like further differentiates players' records.
Yeah, I think this is just a positive change. It makes a lot of sense. It was really weird. This should make it so that someone who enters day 2 at 6-2-1 like has a theoretical chance of making top 8, right? Like if you go like
because you go 11-1-2, and that's like certainly like an ASIM
or 11
probability.
11-2-1.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you're at least in the mix, right? Whereas like before, I mean, like it was
you were shut out.
Actually, you were actually shut out, which made no sense. And then even in a lot of tournaments, like your X2s were shut out, which didn't really make any sense. Like a 7-2 being shut out, like, what do you mean? Like that's a dang good record, dude. Like what? So yeah, it's just I feel like this is less of a change and more of a correction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. Okay, big fans of this. Let's talk about something that maybe is a bit more controversial. The end of round rule change. And this I will read entirely, because I think if you're not going to go read it, you should hear what they have to say in regards to this change. Pokemon says, during the 2025 season, when time was called in a round, competitors had +3 turns to conclude their active game. If the game did not resolve in those turns, the game was declared a draw, and the match concluded accordingly. For example, if one competitor was ahead 1-0, they were awarded a match win, but if the game was tied 1-1 or 0-0, the match was declared a tie. This end-of-round procedure creates complicated situations for event operations, since the +3 turns technically have no time limit. It's been observed that competitors play differently during overtime and stretch out their turns, making round turnover unpredictable and significantly extending round times. We've concluded that the overtime procedure is not achieving its intended goal, with a significant percentage of matches still resulting in a draw after +3 turns. To mitigate these unintended complications, we are implementing the following rules. After time is called in the round, competitors will have an additional full turn. So instead of +3, it's going to be +1 to complete their match. The active competitor will complete their turn. Their opponent will then complete their turn, and if no winner is determined, the game is a draw. Additionally, an overtime clock of 10 minutes will be instituted for this additional turn, and if play does not conclude, the game is a draw. The overtime clock is intentionally long compared to the average turn length, with the hope that this clause will trigger only in extreme circumstances where slow play penalties may already be considered and applied where appropriate. So, give it to me. What are your thoughts on this change?
So, at its face, this is a great change. I mean, like, on its face. Just, like, reading that, 100% in agreement. +3 is like a relic of the past when tournaments were smaller and logistically not as challenging to orchestrate, right? But now you've got these massive behemoth events with thousands of players, and you've got the slowpokes just like eating up all the time with their +3 turns, dude. I mean, like at NAIC this year, it was freaking miserable. 45 minutes between rounds. Are you kidding me? And it's all because you've got players who just like can't figure out the end of their matches in the +3 turn situation. So Pokemon is looking at that and saying like, we're basically adding 40 minutes between every round because of +3.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half every round, essentially.
Got to cut that out, right?
Yeah.
It's like a easy logistical cut, right? But my beef with this is that this looks like it was written by somebody who doesn't know anything about the inner workings of playing a competitive Pokemon TCG tournament, because there's absolutely no mention of the 50-minute best of 3 situation, and the fact that like Pokemon players are already really stressed about finishing 3 games in 50 minutes. You've got players kind of making up their own ways to decide wins in tie situations, right? They're generally referred to as gentlemen's agreements, things like that. Players have kind of creative ways of negotiating wins out of tie games. It's just become embedded into competitive Pokemon at this point, but it is kind of like clicky and gatekeepy because you have to just kind of be in the know of how to like best negotiate your way into a win out of a tie situation legally, because you're also very much butting up against what is allowed at a tournament as well, because you are not allowed to argue your case as to why your opponent should scoop to you. You're not allowed to do any of that. You're not allowed to try and coerce your opponent to scoop to you. So you have to like, it's just jacked, right? Like I think the tie rate in Pokemon's way too high. 50 minutes is not enough time to play a best of 3 set in the Pokemon TCG. I already felt like I was at a place where, like, if I wanted to complete 3 games in 50 minutes, I kind of had to scoop a game on turn 2. One of the games had to be scooped, like, extremely early in order to, like, give myself enough time in +3 turns to, like, conclude. And this is, like, with you having absolutely no control over the pace that your opponent is playing at. Your opponent could be playing slow as molasses. You know, you could try to call a judge. It's probably not gonna happen, right? And it's probably not going to do anything. So it felt like this is like a logistical solution. Great. But as far as like being on the floor, playing 50 minutes best of 3 with +1 turns, you're lopping out a whole turn. And how many games, how many 50-minute best of 3 situations have you played in personally where you're like, dang, I missed the win by 1 turn, or I just barely clinched the win by 1 turn. Now all of those are about to get like doubled or tripled even, because like so many more of your games now, all your games that before were like buzzer beaters are now ties, and then all of your ties are like we're never even close to concluding now. So it's like you're gonna jack the tie rate up astronomically by cutting these turns out.
Yeah.
And Pokemon has not offered any sort of sort of insight as to like how they plan on addressing that.
We'll see about that, Andrew. Like I think the player base will adapt even more so than they have. You talk about the tie rate jacking up. Like I don't know if I necessarily see it that way. I almost feel like if we were to graph it out, right, and I'm sure that they have these statistics over the course of past seasons, but early in the season, the tie rate versus the tie rate later in the season, I feel like we would see that decrease. But I do agree with you, right? This does present, at least with the way that most of the player base is conceptualizing a round of Pokemon, a best of 3 round of Pokemon at a regional or international level. It does really kind of mess with that pretty significantly. And so, you do bring up a lot of great points there.
I guess just to play devil's advocate, like, I don't necessarily know if Pokemon has an overt problem with the tie rate in of itself. They have a problem with the logistics associated with it, right?
Yeah.
They're not saying there's too many ties and we want to reduce the amount of ties. They're saying that the best of 3, or sorry, the plus 3 turns isn't changing enough of those ties into wins or losses to make it worth the logistical endeavor. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right? They're not saying anything about the actual tie rate. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah.
And
so go ahead.
I think an interesting unintended consequence of this, in my opinion, is I think it actually buffs like the like I'm gonna play a best of 1 type of situations, because if you're in game 2 and your opponent has 1 more turn to play the game in time, it makes it way easier to create those like shutout scenarios. So actually, just another buff over to Guardy, Pokemon's favorite deck, and it all comes back to that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So and you're absolutely right? Like. Pokemon may have no beef with a tie rate. They may be fine with like 1/1 sets just being a tie. But then what's the point of playing like? I guess like you either 2-0 your opponent, you 1-0 your opponent, or you split it 1-1 and it's a tie.
Yeah,
I guess it like so like a 2-0 is worth 3 points. A 1-0 is worth 3 points. Like you basically you're taking out, most players are not finishing 3 games in 50 minutes. Now, I can, because I can play very fast and loose, and I've been doing this for a long time, and but I also have to be with somebody who also knows what they're doing, right? Like I can't, because like a lot of that's out of my control.
Yeah, can't do it alone.
Can't do it alone. Takes 2 to tango,
Yeah.
right? Like we both have to be on the same level here. But my biggest issue with this, it really doesn't have almost anything to do with the plus 3 turns now being cut to plus 1. My biggest issue is that Pokemon just kind of allows this undercurrent of gentlemen's agreements where players are just kind of like fixing the situation in competitive Pokemon. They're fixing it like while kind of skirting the rules and creating this kind of awkward social situation that's really gatekeepy for new players, where you have to be able to socially navigate how to turn a tie game into a win in those do or die situations. And the best Pokemon players are all doing it, and they're all doing it all the time, where they are, making agreements and are and making the cases for board states and kind of like and coercing, in a way, coercing the opponent while not doing anything brazenly illegal, into making sure that they get the win at the end of the round.
So, I mean, I'm with you there. I think the state of the gentleman's is like kind of out of control, and to be honest, I think there's like overt benefits to having like the social clout to kind of hang over your opponent, and
it's part of it.
Subtly or like subconsciously like coerce them into concessions. I also think some of the gentleman's agreement board state discussions, to me, like I don't think if you like really sat someone down and like interrogated their opinion of that versus the rules, I don't think it would actually hold up super well. Like you are asking your opponent to concede without saying those specific words. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm with you. I think that's a problem. I actually think the 10-minute clock helps with that problem slightly, because you're going to end some of those negotiations that are going on for like 15, 20 minutes beyond the turns.
That's another thing
common.
too. That's okay. Go ahead, finish your thought. I have an extension.
I just want to lay out like one piece of common ground.
Yeah.
Like the first couple rounds of NAIC, we can agree were unacceptable, right? It was taking way too long to turn over those rounds, and it's just impossible to manage that with like the current logistical affair of these Pokemon tournaments. So something had to give, something had to change, on the face of it. Is that something we would all agree on?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, 100%.
So like, that's my argument for like, the overtime clock is the thing I'm the biggest fan of personally. Just like, cut the bleeding. You're drawing. If you're drawing this out, you're taking the tie or you're going 1-0.
Yeah, well that's a big problem, and they acknowledged it here, right? Where it's they say it's been observed that competitors play differently during overtime and stretch out their turns, right? And that was allowed, right? And that was an unwritten rule.
It was, yeah.
Right? And judges would allow, right? Like judges would be sitting there at the match and
watching them take minutes
and I'm like, certainly I'm not saying, I'm not absolving myself of like slowing my pace a little bit towards the end where it gets a little bit complicated in some of these situations. Like I certainly would have have done that, right? That's just kind of, again, the unwritten rule of those end of match situations. But yeah, that's a big thing too, right? That we're also not really bringing up here, and that is being addressed with the 10-minute timer. Is like, now you're not, you have kind of an objective way to finish a match as opposed to the judges having to make decisions about slow play, what's not slow play, what's an acceptable, extension of a turn in that +3 situation. So I like it for that reason too, because I think generally like judges should have put a little bit more pressure on the players to finish, or after it's +3, like sign the slip as a tie, or however they were going to gentlemen's to figure it out. I felt like that was very, very extended, and it led to a lot of this long turnover like you're talking about, Riley.
So I think I think that I agree with Riley that just the state of the gentleman's agreement in 2025 is just like kind of obscene. It was a thing that you had like kind of heard of, but you didn't need to do like every tournament, maybe back in the day. But like now it's like a thing that it's like every tournament I could be expected. As someone who's like expecting to day 2, I'm expecting the gentleman's agreement at least a couple of times, throughout an event. Like, I'll probably have to gentleman's in an event. Like, I didn't have to do it at NAIC. I was playing Raging Bolt. Like, whatever. I just kind of went ham. But, like, most of the time, I expect to have that conversation. And that doesn't really have anything to do with playing Pokemon cards, and really makes players uncomfortable. Especially players who aren't in the know, right? To have to, like, decide the outcome of a match based on something that's not really in the rule book, right? It's just strange. And I think that with this change, by lopping off 2 turns from the clock, basically, you're lopping off 2 turns, you are going to increase the number of and the importance of gentlemen's agreements for competitive players. You're going to have to increase the number of gentlemen's agreements that get made, because there's a certain amount of games that we're concluding, like buzzer beater games that we're concluding in 3 turns that we're like just barely finishing. But like now, I mean, and I commentated over a 5K, Riley and I had talked about this, commentated over a 5K this past weekend, where I watched Michael Davidson and Andrew Hedrick play out a turn 4 in front of a judge on stream, like just to try and decide the outcome of a game. And I'm not talking about like just drawing my top deck and revealing a hand. I'm talking about like using an ability, like, playing item cards, like, like playing a Pokegear, like trying to like just play a 4th turn of the game to like reveal like, no, I have win, you need to concede, right? Like that kind of thing doesn't really make a lot of sense for the game anymore. I think that this ruling will have that unintended effect of increasing the kind of prevalence of the need for socially navigating a gentleman's agreement at the top tables, because of the increased time constraints on the best of 3 situation. I think it was already starting to get out of hand. It's already something I've been not a fan of, the way that it's going, and I see this just making the problem worse. And I do think that it is going to come to a head where like Pokemon kind of needs to address this, because you have this thing, this unwritten thing that I feel like is against the spirit of the game happening at every single competitive tournament. Gentlemen's agreements happen at every single competitive tournament, every single regional, every single national, every single worlds. They're happening, all of them. Judges know it. Judges, and it puts judges, this is another point that I thought of, like, it puts judges in a really sucky situation, because judges now are having to police, like, oh, is that coercion? Is that, like, where's the line between, like, so they're having to, like, and judges don't want to be, like, the bad guy to have to be like, that was coercion.
Yeah.
That's a match loss. Yep, for sure. You know, like, who wants to do that in an extremely high level win and in situation? Like, who wants to do that? Nobody. So it essentially, so the effect is that the gentlemen's agreements don't get policed. They just don't. Right. So then, like, you do skirt the line with coercion, and it gets weird. It's just weird, and it sucks, and Pokemon needs to solve it.
I mean, hey, let us look at our prizes at the start of the game. So we'd like get an extra 5 to 10 minutes per match. Seriously, like the prize checking and stuff. Talk about wanting to like speed rounds up. I think that would be a huge boon for that.
People say that, and like I kind of agree, but I don't know about you, but like the rounds in the middle of a tournament where I'm at risk of tying has nothing to do with like prize checking or anything. It's either because the games themselves went too long, or because my opponents are playing really slow. Like, I don't like, the prize checking would save time, but I don't know if it would actually make the difference.
Nah, if I'm up against somebody, if I'm up against somebody who like is going to be able to like maximize the information gained by like looking at their prizes, they also, like, if they want to play for a tie, they're going to play for a tie. They're going to, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be able to,
people
like,
who are doing the thorough prize checks to start with.
Yeah, those types of people who are doing the thorough prize checks and taking 60 seconds to do a prize check are going to be able to find 60 seconds somewhere else to play for a tie if that's what they want to do, right? And if those people, and if that person who is doing the 60-second prize check doesn't want to tie this game, you can bet your ass that they're speeding up and not doing a 60-second prize check.
You think it's only 60 seconds? Come on, man.
We've seen the most egregious ones are 90 seconds.
We've seen it on streams be longer than that.
I mean, for sure.
I think the longest ones that I'm thinking of are like 90.
90 seconds is as long as it gets, really. A judge would have to get involved after. I mean, I think judges should get involved after 45 seconds. But
all right, leave a comment down below.
Well, I think in general, like,
prize checks.
I think slow play is just a little under. It's people don't call judges for it, which I've already talked about, and then people don't enforce it like subsequently. Yep. So it's like that in itself is a huge problem. I don't know. I think the 10 minutes does help slightly with the gentlemen's, because you can't have those back and forth debates forever. Like you have to.
It has to conclude.
I
think that's a huge improvement.
Because to me, the really uncomfortable gentlemen's, like if you agree on prizes, that's like done. Okay, whatever. Like
it's all I agree on.
Objective board
I
state.
won't do board state. But
board states is what leads to the awkwardness and like the social clout and stuff. And I'll tell you what, like I had an opponent NAIC who like got up in my face basically about wanting to do a board state based agreement, and I was like, dude, I want to do prizes, and he like debated me about it at the start of the match. He was debating me about that, and it's like that. Frankly, that sucks. Like I don't want to play a person like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if I didn't know like how to navigate that situation. So to me, it's all the board state crap, and like the 10 minutes I think does help with that, right? Because you'll use like 6 of those minutes blowing through your turns. You got 3 minutes to hash it out and sign the slip.
Yeah, I do hope that the judges like take this very like seriously, right? So as soon as that timer hits, boom, if they haven't signed the slip, like that's just a draw. Like I do hope that that's the implementation of this. Whether
like confiscate the dang slip. Yep, yeah, exactly. Whatever's written on the slip at that moment, that's the game.
Yep, exactly. So all right, any final thoughts here before we move on to some of the other topics?
Yes. I think, like, you know, Riley, you brought up slow play. And I'm going to kind of say this one more time. I know I sound like a broken record. I say it all the time. Slow play is not a problem if you design the tournament structure to not reward it. But right now, in the Pokemon TCG, slow play 100% can be rewarded and is often rewarded. So you have to change the structure of your tournament to not reward it, right? If a player can have a positive outcome by playing slowly, they will play as slow as possible without getting caught. It's the same thing with speeding on the highway. I could have a positive outcome from speeding, so I'm going to go as
Actually, the
fast as I can.
studies show that you don't get that much of a positive outcome from speeding.
Sure, but I think I do. All right, so like, but
and he does get some benefit. He didn't say it was entire.
I do get some. I show up 3 minutes earlier, whatever. Okay, so like
you probably don't.
But that's what the point I'm trying to make is that like people will drive as fast as possible, while trying not to get caught, right? Because they think they have a positive outcome from driving fast. Whereas with slow play in the Pokemon TCG right now, you have players across the board asking themselves, how slow can I play in this game without getting caught?
Mm-hmm.
And it's and the way that it is constructed is that, especially now that we've gone to +1, you're going to have players winning one game in 30 minutes and just being like, oh yeah, buddy, let me pile shuffle before game 2. Let me check that discard pile. Let me shuffle between every deck search. Like,
right.
While not illegal, right? It's not illegal.
Right. And then there's
the card says shuffle after I play it.
And there's good justification to do those things, but
yeah.
Certainly, it can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean that was the point I was making earlier. The best of 1 decks, the decks that turn the best of 3 into best of 1, those get buffed with this for sure.
I know. And it's like, and that's why you have judges who have to kind of like, they have to make cases against players because you can't get, and slow play is it is unjudgeable. I know like people are like, oh, judges should call it more. It's unjudgeable because it's a judgment thing. You cannot get inside someone's head. You don't know if they're genuinely thinking or if they're like genuinely new or if they're genuinely trying to work the clock.
Yep.
So you have to like kind of try and build a case and prove it, right? Yep. Which you have to like follow someone around. It just ends up becoming like really nasty. So Pokemon needs to change it. I think they need to change the structure. I think the current structure is just like completely broken. So,
all right, let's move on. Riley, you had the championship point table, the new table. That do you want to read out some of those changes? We have a tweak to the championship points and kickers for our league challenges, regional, special, and international championships.
So Pokemon did announce that they are increasing the championship point at kind of those upper middle placements, I guess you might call them. Yeah. So 9th through 64th place. So the 9 through 16, the 17 through 32, and the 33 through 64. I don't think we need to linger on this, but it is a decent buff to each of those placements. So getting top 16 now awards 200 championship points. That's up from, I believe, 160. And now at 160 is 17 through 32. You get 160 championship points. And finally, 33 through 64th, getting 120 smackers up from 100. So I truthfully, I don't think this will be the overtly most impactful change on most people's season, but it does make it so that way, for example, if you lose in ASIM and you're in that top 16 range, you get a pretty hefty chunk of change in terms of CP back from that now. And it's a welcome buff to those, because top 64 is hard to get. Now, it is hard to get at a tournament these days at a regional championship. So I think awarding those finishes with slightly more CP is just generally good.
Yep, absolutely. Coming down, speaking of CP, the Ace Trainer Rewards Program returns. So this was
But we know how much CP it'll take this time.
That's true. I was going to say, last season we had the Ace Trainer Rewards announced mid-season and said, 200 championship points. That will carry over into this season. The Ace Trainer Rewards, I know we kind of talked about this before last season. It seemed like it had a lot of potential. The 200 championship point threshold is good, but I don't know. I wish this was a bit more of an expanded program.
What card did players get?
Well, we haven't gotten them yet, but it was a like Japan only exclusive that they're making in the localized languages.
So what is it?
I don't know. It's whatever their ace trainer is. It's like a participation card. So I don't know I don't remember offhand.
Yeah, look, we all wish that there were tiers of like 200, 300, 500 or whatever, where you get fancier stuff as you go up, but that's clearly it's not happening. So, is what it is.
Yep. No need to dwell on that. And then some of the last things to talk about, the season schedule. So we have, and this is another great kind of carryover from some of the most recent years. Like, we're getting the regional schedule before the season starts. Like, we're getting most of the regional schedule. Now, granted, for North America, we're missing all of 2026, but we have all the ICs. We have the first kind of half of the NA, EU, Aussie regional schedule. And we have some interesting locations on the docket. So let's talk about it here. We have Anaheim, obviously, for the World Championships. And then Germany, we have Frankfurt in September. So about a month after Worlds is the first scheduled regional. Monterey in North America, same weekend as Frankfurt. So back-to-back, or I should say simultaneous tournaments. Week after that, Pittsburgh towards the end of September. And then Milwaukee, October 10th through the 12th. In
Milwaukee twice in 6 months is crazy.
I know. They love Milwaukee. I mean, I get it. You know, Pittsburgh, that was a great location when I went. I've only been to Milwaukee, I think, one time, and it was really nice. So looking forward to potentially going back. We have Brazil.
Well, you should go back because that's my hometown regionals. And
well, that's when your wedding is, right? Oh, it's a weekend before your birthday?
It's the weekend for my birthday.
Dude, yeah. Okay. That you make a good argument for Milwaukee. We have Brazil running in concurrently with Milwaukee on that October 11th, 12th weekend. Lille in France, October 25th through the 26th. Gdansk the following week in November 1st and 2nd. And then this is an interesting one, November 14th through the 16th. I feel like a lot of players have been calling for this for quite a while, but the first Pokemon Regional to be held in Las Vegas. Very interesting. I'll get some kind of thoughts here after I read the rest of the schedule. Buenos Aires on that same weekend, 15th through the 16th. That is a special event. We have the Stuttgart Regional Championships at the end of November. Merida, January 24th through the 25th, coinciding with Birmingham on the 24th and the 25th. Auckland, New Zealand, also on the 24th, 25th. That is a special event. Santiago Regionals, February 7th through 8th. So, I mean, as I'm kind of going through here, there's really only, 3 or 4.
It's like North America in 2026 that's missing.
Yeah, no. There's only like 3 or 4 weekends without a broadcasted event. Like it's a pretty tight schedule. I think they're, certainly over the years that has been kind of the case, right? Where it seems like almost like every other weekend you're going to have a broadcasted event. Like this also seems quite tight here as well. European International Championships return to the UK. I think, did I miss?
Every IC this year is in the same place.
Did I miss the IC in Brazil? Because that is also going to be in Sao Paulo, just as it was this year. We have Seville in March, end of March, 28th, 29th. Querétaro, butchered that. Querétaro, Mexico, a new location, April 4th and 5th. The Utrecht, May 16th and 17th. This is notably a regional as opposed to a special event. The Lima, Peru special event, May 23rd and 24th. And then the last announced event is the North American International Championships back in New Orleans.
You know what, guys? This like almost brings a tear to my eye. It feels like Pokemon's growing up, dude.
I know.
Like,
and it's got this nice website.
I know.
Dude, this feels esports, man. This feels
Okay, but
esports.
first,
It looks
it's
esports.
just 2 quick comments. Like, first off, JW, I can't believe you just read that whole list. That
No,
was
but
crazy.
people are gonna want to hear that. Okay, I get it. I get it that it was kind of for the people that are in the know. That was a horrible segment, and like they skipped, or maybe even shut the cast down. But to be fair, we've been going
Yeah,
for
they're
like
not
an
even
hour,
listening
right?
anymore.
If they're listening to that point and then they shut the cast off, like okay, I get it, and that's probably not going to affect any numbers on our end. But for those that haven't seen this website and that don't know, I mean that's good dates to know, right?
Dude,
Like,
shout
that's
out
good
to the tag
information.
teamers who are learning about this from the podcast, and also furthermore wanted to know the events all the way through 2026.
That's right, man. You gotta know.
Shout out to those tag teamers. I lost. Oh, the other thing, Sao Paulo actually doesn't look like the dates are on this website yet, so I don't. Maybe that's still being worked out. It's
I think
typically it's going to be in November though.
Yeah, I do think they have dates. I just don't have them here on the site.
They're not on this website. Yeah, it's not even like you aren't seeing them. It's just not here.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Is this lineup, at least of what they've revealed? Again, we expect they did a graphic on the Pokemon. Let's see, they did it like an announcement graphic. I'll see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here, and it kind of hints at where all of the events are going to be. So some players are thinking that there's going to be a Toronto regionals, an Indianapolis regionals.
Players are theorizing there will be a Toronto regional championship.
Well, in the announcement video, they have the kind of sneak peek, right? So Daytona Beach is looking like it's probably the site of a regional. So anyway, from what has been announced, my question is there anything that gets you really excited about the upcoming season? Anything that you would maybe want to travel to? I know, Andrew, you were saying you might want to do 2 or 3 events beyond NAIC this year.
Oh, yeah, dude. Frankfurt and Vegas. Let's go. I love Frankfurt. Natalie, my wife, was saying that she's feeling a warm beer calling her name from across the pond. Yeah, dude. Frankfurt. I don't know. It's either or. I would love to go to Vegas. I mean, Cleveland's got direct flights to Vegas, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vegas.
I would
Vegas
go.
is great, right? You talk about
I
destination
love
cities,
Vegas.
right? It's like Orlando was
so
awesome.
glad they decided to include Vegas.
Orlando was awesome
Yeah.
for the same reason. Vegas is going to be, $100, $150 flight from pretty much anywhere in the country. That's
Literally from anywhere.
Yeah, that's going to.
And that city is built for conventions and to host events, and like, dude, Vegas is the one I want to go to because that city is so easy to travel to and to like get involved at. The whole city is like built in the middle of the desert to simply be a place for tourists to come.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love that about it. It rules. So I am really looking forward to Vegas. That's the one that I'll have my eyes on, for sure. And I gotta say, I mean, what a relief, right? Because I know we used to just like meme on Pokemon for being so unprofessional with their rollouts and for withholding information for like
For
no
no
reason.
reason.
For
and
months.
for like logistically just like not having their shit
World's
together.
dates not coming out until like July.
We used to meme on them for that because honestly it made it feel incredibly Mickey Mouse.
Well, and it wasn't. And
derogatory.
the problem with that, Andrew, you're describing this. It wasn't like an isolated year. Like that was years.
No, this
of
was
this.
how they were.
That was years
This is
of
how
this.
they
and it was
operated.
like, and it blew my mind because you think about these conventions that need to be booked out. At least a year and a half.
Right, like they have
Like at
they have
least
this
a year and
center
a half,
booked like
2 years. Like
if not 2 or 3. Like
anyway, go
I
ahead.
know.
Carry
It
on.
feels like they got their shit together, man. It does. It feels
It
like
does,
you know
yeah.
what? Like holy smokes, I don't have to beg for it anymore. Like you guys are just giving the information freely. Holy smokes, dude! This is all we've been wanting, and like,
Yeah.
look at it. You look like a real company now. Like, good God, like you look like you're producing real events. And like, if I didn't know Pokemon, right, the way I feel like I do, having been involved with the franchise since the beginning, and I looked in, I'd be like, dang, this is like a legitimate esports operation. That's what I would think. Now,
yeah.
if if you'd asked me what I thought of Pokemon's organized play system 5 years ago, I'd have been like, it's like kind of a half-baked esports operation.
Yeah.
like kind of, they're like on their way, but I'd say that they've finally arrived. Like now I feel like they have arrived. They've done it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, even just echoing Andrew's points, like today at work when this website got launched, I was really excited just to even see it. It's like so well done, and the information is actually organized, and they have the event schedule available. And obviously there's going to be more events than are listed here, but they've got a great outline to start with. They have like the event will be broadcast, even that. And just seeing that there's going to be these really high quality broadcasts like every weekend or every other weekend, it really excites me too. I really enjoy like catching the broadcasts when I get a moment during a weekend, even if I'm not playing. I think it's just fun to watch. So yeah, I'm really, that makes me excited, seeing Pokemon really embrace like taking this seriously, taking the whole championship circuit seriously and treating us like like Andrew said, an esports operation. As far as like regionals, I'm excited to attend. Milwaukee's of course going to be high up on the list, and I don't know, I could see myself going to more this year than I did this past season, but let's play it by ear. I will say, since I made the critique to us as a group that we failed by not just spamming Dragapult all season, I did play some games on Dragapult on TCG Live, and I'm loving it, and I'm realizing that's the deck I should have been playing for the last 2 years. So I waste a lot of time, but I'm going to catch up.
There's a little bit of time left, right? You have your Milwaukee regional championships. That seems like a slam dunk for you. Any thoughts?
Yep.
Any thoughts on the boys going to like an international that's not New Orleans?
Well, I could be persuaded to maybe check out EUIC one more time. I don't think I'll probably go to LAIC in November, but also it's like right over Valentine's though, so I don't know, that feels weird too.
No other ICs, but like you could get me to like, I would say you could get me to 3 events this year as opposed to last year's 1.
You could get you're saying 3 total. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But not an
so
IC.
Pick your 3. Well, it probably will be NAIC if it's an IC, or it could be either or. But I heard that Natalie was looking at trips to London are kind of pricey right now. So
I was seeing. I mean, it's probably the New York special, but I was seeing like.
I mean, yeah, your airport options are not the layperson's JW.
No, I understand, but they're really not particularly inexpensive. Like it hasn't. I thought that was going to be a major perk of living on the East Coast, specifically in the New York area, and that has been kind of surprisingly sad. If they do
Vegas every year, I will go to the Vegas Regional Championships every single year. That's how much I enjoyed. The one time I went to Vegas because Brady was playing in the
TFT like challenger event.
Yeah. He was playing in an esports thing in Vegas. I wasn't even playing. I don't play TFT. I didn't even watch it. I just went to visit and chill with Brady.
Right.
But like, we had a great time, and it was the easiest little in and out flight I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
From Cleveland.
Yep.
I mean, they literally build the city to like accommodate for people coming in for a weekend and leaving.
Yep.
It's true.
Definitely. So, all right, very cool. Well, it seems like the boys are a little bit more excited, I guess, for this season. Now that we have some dates and locations, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun one.
Aren't any ones that you're like eyeing up immediately, JW?
I mean, yeah, I was talking to Ann the other day. I think the arrangement is going to be, well, we need to finalize some things, and obviously dates are a little different, but trying to hit the best finish limit. There wasn't a
so he's going for another invite.
Dude, I'm gonna try. I mean, it's 5 events, man. It's 5 events.
Bro, you just had to publish the I failed video.
It's 5 weekends.
Not even a week ago.
I know. Hey, it's good to
running it back.
It's good to strive for things.
Will not retire. It's so easy to just say I'm retired.
Yeah, it is so easy, but there's one thing that I enjoy
He's
doing
not.
in life. There's one thing that I enjoy doing in
There's
life.
one thing.
And I just enjoy winning too much, you know, and so I missed that feeling last season.
One thing.
I missed that feeling last season, so
One thing is crazy.
that was bait, but
Do not show Ann. Do not show Ann. Do not show my girls when they grow up.
yeah, I mean Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, those seem great. Las Vegas, right? I'd like to hit, you know, just the ICs are like so disproportionately weighed. So if this is a, you know, if this is a season that it's, you know, that is an invite as possible, like I think you just have to go to at least 2. So yeah, we'll see.
I'll tell you what, JW, we could talk about UIC after Las Vegas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The boys
If
are
the
going
season,
to Vegas.
if the season's a vibe after Las Vegas, then I'll go to UIC with you.
Okay.
If the season's not a vibe, though, I'm out.
Okay. All right. Hey, that's fair. I'll wait and see. I'll take it over a no.
Yeah, I'll give
my
you that
boys.
much.
My boys coming with me to Vegas.
All,
It's gonna be like The Hangover.
all my homies love Vegas. That would be crazy.
I don't know if you really want it to be like The Hangover.
I don't think you can handle it. So, all right. Any final thoughts? Oh, we had one last thing that I did want to mention was the Pokemon TCG Championship invitations. That this is an extension of what they showed or what we had from last year, which was the Top X in the USA and Canada. They have extended that to 135 invitations for Worlds, so slightly extended. The assumption there as well is that they will continue with the auto invitations for winning an event or top 4ing an IC. That's, again, the assumption, but we don't have that spelled out.
No mention of it.
Yep. Europe is also 135. Latin America, 125. This is all for Masters again. Oceania, 20 auto invitations, and then Middle East and South Africa, 10. So, yeah, that is we're keeping with the Top X structure, extending it ever so slightly, but yeah, that looks to be the path forward.
Yeah, back on. The 10 is like such an arbitrary amount to increase it for the regions that are already at 120.
125. Yeah.
But
yeah.
like whatever, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Pokemon has always historically strived to be more inclusive for their world. So, you know, again, it's probably just minor tweaks based on space and, you know, seeing how many auto invites there were awarded this year. You know, you had a number of players kind of sucking up those regional wins and international top 4s. Yeah, Henry Chow calling you out. But you know, I'm sure that had something to do with it as well.
Punting invites to the void.
Exactly. So,
Which is so cool, though.
yeah, it's so sick
That
for
is
sure.
so sick.
Generational run, no doubt. So that is going to do it. If you guys have any comments that you'd like to leave, anything that you'd like to add to this conversation, we have, you know, obviously, you know, you finished listening to this episode, so if you listen to it on Spotify, you can find us on YouTube. If you find us on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify. Add a comment on your favorite platform, and while you're there, leave us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a review. All of that goes a long way to helping this podcast get seen by other interested players. So that's going to do it for us today. If you want to find us on social media, you can head on over to x.com. I am at Real John Walter. We have Andrew at EnjoyFriend and Riley at Smiles with Riles. Thank you all so much for listening this week, and we'll catch you in the next one.